RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition and Liquid Sun Rays. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions, whatever's on your mind, it is all on the table. Of course, this is a pre-recorded interview as we go to Dave Palumbo right now. Dave, hopefully in a week from now, as we are recording this, your shoulder surgery has gone successfully and you are recovering right now.
Yeah, me too. I hope that too. Hopefully I'm not dead and then this is like the last living interview with Dave Palumbo. Yeah, no, I have every confidence in the world in my surgeon, Dr. Frankel. He invented the reverse shoulder. I actually have a reverse shoulder in my left one, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be getting one in my right one, given the fact that I have very little bone left in that shoulder. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to keep you guys full of content while I was gone, and I probably could have done the show because I'm a trooper, but I figured, you know what, I don't like to do shows on pain meds, so I figured that we would pre-record this one.
Please make it through because fans would much rather watch Ask Dave than Ask Sid. Let's go right to the questions. We first go to JC3007. Thoughts on glucomannan as a fiber supplement and when to take it?
Glucomannan is something that they use in foods a lot. They have like these things called these shirataki noodles. It's like actually they come actually already made, and it looks like spaghetti almost, but they're made out of this fiber. And it's really just not absorbable. So it's a very low carb like noodle you can eat. It's the problem with the fiber content of it is it's not the kind of fiber that's going to have necessarily health benefits to you. It is not absorbable because fiber by definition is not non-absorbable carb, but it's not it's not like psyllium. It's not like when you take Fiberlize. You're not getting the health benefits of a high potency soluble and insoluble fiber. Once again, it's a matter of fact, if you take too much in, because I know people who will eat huge bags of this stuff because they figure, oh, it's 0 calories because it's fiber. It will upset your stomach, so you don't want to take too much of it in. But like I said, if you're looking for a fiber supplement that's going to give you health benefits and enable you to move waste through your body more efficiently, you really want to use a psyllium-based one. Obviously, Fiberlize has not only the psyllium, but it also has which is a soluble fiber, has the insoluble fiber as well, and that's why it's so popular, and it tastes good. So you can kind of get it down a lot more easily. But once again, a lot of people make this mistake. They don't understand the difference. They think fiber is fiber, and it's just not. 1 gram of oat bran, which is probably the most potent soluble source of fiber in the food in the food supply, is equivalent to 8 grams. 8 grams of oat bran is equal to 1 gram of psyllium. So psyllium is 8 times more potent than everything else that's in the food supply. And that's why we use it in Fiberlize. It's also more expensive, but it doesn't matter. You want to use a high potency, fiber supplement.
Let's go to Kevin Brown. Do you prefer EQ for 6 weeks with Test E, then switch the EQ to Tren for another 6 weeks with Test E, or vice versa?
I don't really think it matters what order you do them in. I think Tren's a little stronger than EQ, so I always start with the EQ because it really makes you hungry. Yeah, it takes a little longer to kick in, but who cares? After 2 weeks, everything's in your system already anyway. But it makes you hungry. A lot of times people, when they first start an off-season program, they have trouble with appetite. It makes you vascular. It doesn't block appetite. Tren can mess with your digestive tract a little bit. That's why I recommend in the off-season not using too much of it. Usually 50 milligrams every other day is enough. I used to use more with people, and I found that less is better. It doesn't cause the sleep problems. It doesn't cause the upset stomach as much. But get a good base start with the first 6 to 8 weeks with EQ and Test. Then you can switch to your EQ and Tren. And I usually end the last 6 to 8 week off-season type of mini cycle with DECA and EQ, because by then you're getting bigger, your joints are hurting already. DECA comes in now, and now you're feeling good, and you can kind of get another productive 6 to 8 weeks under your belt.
Let's go to Gabe Villavincenzo. Sorry if I butchered that name. Thoughts on high-intensity cardio after weight? Since many of the same energy systems will be used as weight training, is it a hindrance to muscle gain?
Yeah, I think it is because, high-intensity cardio is using glucose as a fuel source. You just did a weight training session. You exhausted all the glycogen from your muscles, or a lot of it at least. You've broken down muscle tissue. Now you want to go and break down more muscle tissue using all the wrong exercises. In other words, what builds muscle? Explosive, fast movements with relatively low duration and then long periods of rest. What is cardio? Sustained high-intensity cardio using slow twitch muscle fibers. It's the total opposite of what you're trying to train and what you're trying to accomplish. So high-intensity cardio is just not compatible with building big muscle. Can people do it and build big muscle? Yeah, I'm sure they can, but is it efficient? No. If you're a hard gainer or you're someone who wants to maximize muscle gains, definitely don't do high-intensity cardio. It's just not in the correct wheelhouse. It's one of the wrong things you should be doing. And I feel very confident in saying that.
Let's go to JCTRI73. As someone who had to give up marathon running due to a hip problem and begin to weight train again, what caused you to give up distance running and start bodybuilding?
I wised up and I realized I was never going to get a date. No, truth be told, when I was graduating college and the season was over, I said, well, I'm 138 pounds. I'm starving myself down. Yeah, it's great and everything like that for performance. And I was a great runner and I was the best runner on the team. And I enjoyed the thrill of it. But let's face it, I want to look good too. So I got back to weight training. I knew it wasn't, look, I was running myself pretty rag. I was very overtrained. I had a lot of overuse injuries and stuff like that, plantar fasciitis, and my knee was hurting. So I kind of got to the breaking point. So I said, you know what, I'm going to stop. And of course, me being obsessive compulsive, I had to direct my obsessive compulsive, ness into something else. So I said, all right, well, if I'm not going to be the smallest, fastest guy, now I want to put some size on. Now, obviously, the goal was not to look like, Arnold Schwarzenegger initially. It was to look like, maybe Sylvester Stallone and Rambo. That might have been my first goal. But, I wanted to put size on. And so, but it was tough to stop distance running because I was so addicted to it. You get that endorphin rush. It's like almost like an opiate addiction you have. So I had to very slowly wean myself off of the running, and as I cut back the running more and more, I was adding more and more muscle. Once I saw that cause and effect response, I stopped the running, and then I started growing at a good rate. So you can't do two opposite sports at the same time and expect to get any result in either direction. You just kind of stay the same, which is what was happening. And obviously, once I got rid of the running, then I started realizing, going to the gym for 2.5 hours with weight training is probably also not productive. So I had to start cutting that back. And that also came from the running mentality is more is better, longer is better. And that doesn't work with bodybuilding. It's the complete opposite truth. And it's hard, to take that, you have to retrain your brain, so to speak. I didn't have Dave Palumbo, giving me advice every week like we do here. Back then, there was nothing. You read the muscle magazines, and the muscle magazines really, was very contrived and was very, if they wanted to demonstrate a certain exercise, then they said the bodybuilder took pictures with doing those exercises, and he said, yeah, I use them, when they a lot of times never did use them. So this is a much more honest approach, what we have now with the internet.
Let's go to Excellent 187. I'm sure you've answered this question before, but it's been a long time. How should you measure macros on food labels, cooked weight or raw weight?
It depends what you're using. When you get a container of rice or a box of rice and it says a half a cup of this, and it's uncooked, it's dry measure, yields this many carbs, it doesn't matter how much water you add to it. You're not going to increase the carbs or decrease the carbs, okay? So you're measuring it according to what the box says. If you buy a chicken breast, okay, and we know that the chicken breast is not going to list on the label how much protein it has, okay, unless it's already pre-prepared. But if you buy a pound of chicken breast and you look online and you see, all right, a chicken breast has this many grams of protein per ounce, that's cooked weight, okay? So when you cook the chicken breast and you then weigh it, that's going to yield the protein that you're looking for, okay? Now, obviously, if you absolutely overcook the chicken breast where it shrinks and dehydrates, you might be a little off on the protein, but then again, you're probably destroying some of the protein anyway, so it still might be accurate. So assuming you're not overkilling the food in the cooking process, the cooked weight for protein is usually what you want. Carbohydrates, because you're measuring according to a box of rice or oatmeal, you got to go with dry weight. With potatoes, it doesn't really change. Like if you cook a potato or a sweet potato, they don't really change in weight that much. They lose a little bit of fluid, moisture, but it's not going to be that much weight. It's pretty, standard. If an ounce of, potato is usually, is usually 4.5 carbs. So if you're going to take 10 ounces of potato, that's 45 grams of carbs. Cooked or not cooked is pretty much the same weight. So protein, measure cooked. Carbs, you can do, uncooked.
Couple of prep-related questions. One from Jeff Devnikar. Dieting for my A show. I'm 26. This prep, the end result really just doesn't feel worth it to me this time. The money spent on the show, the misery, all just seems pointless in the end. Did you ever feel this way during your career? Did you ever back out of a show because your mind wasn't 100% in it all the time? And the other question is from Cameron Coates. He wants to know the best way to beat the tired but wired feeling during prep, that anxiety that often keeps him awake and gives him frequent insomnia.
No, I never felt that way because I would have gladly have paid thousands of dollars for the ability to compete. That's how much I loved bodybuilding back in the day. Now, obviously, I wanted to make money and I didn't want to spend money, but I never felt like when I lost that desire to compete, that's when I said, okay, I'm done. That's when I retired. So if you feel that way, and then maybe it's not the right sport for you. Even when I was getting poor placings, I never felt that. I might have said, you know what, I really am sick of competing, but I love bodybuilding. I'm not going to stop because I don't care. The judges can't tell me that I'm not going to fulfill my passion or my desire inside. I'm not going to allow their judgment of me to change how I feel about this sport. And I persisted through some bad years of placing, and I started placing better again. So who knows? It's called the changing of mentality. The times change, the looks change for bodybuilding, and when I first started, it was the Dorian era of mass, and then for some reason they kind of took a little change with shape and structure, and then they went back to mass again. So, it's just that's the way it goes. Sometimes you got to be at the right place at the right time. Now the second part of the question was
beating the tired but wired feeling, saying that that anxiety that gives me insomnia.
That's terrible. The last 2 to 4 weeks, when you're really lean, I would get so lean that I couldn't even sit in a chair because my glutes had no fat on them, that the nerve endings would get really wired. And I don't know if that was from the anabolics I was taking that were making me irritable, or the clenbuterol, or if it was, I attributed it to the leanness I was and how lean I was. And there was nothing I could do to make myself feel good. And back then I didn't use any kind of narcotic, nothing. So there was nothing to even take the edge off. I used a lot of melatonin and GABA at night. And that's actually how I came up with the formula for my nighttime fat burner and sleep aid, Somalize. It was from using those compounds, because GABA is a natural, like Xanax essentially. It relaxes you. And melatonin really helps keep you asleep, whereas the GABA will help you fall asleep. So I put that into one formula. If you take 3 to 4 Somalize right before bed, you'll fall asleep easier, you'll stay asleep easier. That's not going to stay if you're starving in the middle of the night. It's not going to keep you asleep if you're starving. But it will help you relax before bed, and that's what you need. I also sell a product on DavePalumbo.com called Euphoria. Another friend of mine, Brian Cunningham, makes that. That's also a nice way to take that edge off in a natural way that's not going to get you addicted to painkillers or to benzodiazepine. So you can try either one of those. I found them to be successful. I used them in a generic form because I didn't have my Species line of products at that time, but that's what I did.
Let's go to Imagine Health. What do you think about Jay Cutler's higher volume training methodology, and if it was the reason for his longevity and staying injury-free?
Who was it again? I didn't hear what the person's name?
Jay Cutler.
Oh, I think that Jay's success was due to his mindset. This is a guy, I interviewed him at the Dubai Muscle Show, who said to me, and I knew this already because from Chris Aceto, he never doubted that he wasn't going to be Mr. Olympia from the minute he started bodybuilding. He believed it. And he knew that even when Ronnie was beating him all those years, he's like, I knew I was going to beat Ronnie eventually, I'd be Mr. Olympia. That's an amazing mindset. I mean, he's probably one of the most strong-minded guys out there. And that's what it takes to win the Mr. Olympia. You could be a great look at Cedric McMillan. Cedric is a great bodybuilder. He's won the Arnold Classic. He's won multiple titles. He's got all the genetic gifts you could possibly want. But he can't place top 6 at the Mr. Olympia because he doesn't have the mindset of a Jay Cutler. A champion not only has the physical tool set, they also have the mental tool set. And look at Dorian. Dorian tore his bicep in 94. A lot of guys would have pulled out of the Olympia. He won it anyway. In 97, he almost died. He lost like pints of blood. He tore his tricep. And he showed up, look, a lot of people thought he didn't deserve to win, and you know what? Maybe he didn't, but he walked away with the title. He showed up at the show. A lot of guys would have never done that. And that's the mindset of a champion. Never quit. Always find a way to get the job done. And Jay has that mentality. He has it in bodybuilding, but he has it in life too. Here's a guy who's, he has enough money to never have to work a day in his life. And I even said to him, I said, because he told me that, he has full ownership now of Jay Cutler's Nutrition. He just purchased the other 50%. He had a partner he bought out. And I said, Jay, why are you even bothering with the nutritional company at this point? Because supplements are a hard business to make money in nowadays. He just likes to work. He has that killer mentality. He likes the challenge. He goes, I like the challenge of it. And you can't make people like that. That comes from within. You have to be just self-motivated. I'm like that too. I only like to do things that I like to do though. And I'm sure Jay's the same way. I'm not going to go out and try to, open a restaurant. Even though I think it sounds cool on paper, I know that that's not my passion, restaurants. But if it was, and I did it, I'd probably have a very successful restaurant, I'm sure. So if you're a self-motivated person and you seem to go to things and flock to things that you're interested in, you can't fail. If you're a guy who has interest but doesn't have the drive internally, you'll always fail. Okay, so Jay is a self-motivated guy.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com. Let's go to Miguelito Hudson. How do you feel about all the drama between coaches right now? I haven't seen so much drama in a while. Everyone is just ripping on each other, saying who has more experience, who doesn't have experience. Of course, you've had the opportunity, Dave, to interview so many of the top coaches, especially recently. Your take, I guess, on the quote-unquote drama between prep gurus.
Yeah. You know what? I always say if you're a good coach and you have a lot of knowledge behind you, you don't have to compare yourself and you don't have to say, I have this many wins or I have this many clients. Who knows how many guys I've helped turn pro? Innumerable people. I don't have lists. My reputation speaks for itself. My knowledge base speaks for itself. I'm on here every week giving you guys, you know what my knowledge is. I don't have to try to impress anyone. I don't have to convince anyone of it. If you have to convince someone that you're a good coach, you're probably not a good coach, or you probably have a lot of insecurities. So for me, I don't get involved in that rat race. I have enough anxiety in my life and all the different, responsibilities that I have going on and companies and stuff like that. That's what I expend my energy on. I don't have to prove to anyone. Like I said, my reputation speaks for itself. But there's a lot of guys out of there who are insecure and their whole ego is entwined in the clients they work with. And if they lose someone, they take it personally. And if someone else, takes a shot at them, they feel like they have to defend themselves, or people are going to look at them like not in the same light anymore. And once you get involved in that rat race, it'll eat you alive. I was interviewing Hani Rambad. The interview should be up probably in the next week or so, maybe by the time this show airs. And Hani and I were talking. Hani is really putting a lot more effort into his supplement company, Evogen. And he's like, Dave, I don't have the energy to deal with all these clients anymore, And I understood what he was talking about. He's got a family, he's got a wife and kid, and he's got, a lot of responsibilities. And when you are working, especially with the top athletes in the world, they demand a lot of your attention. And you know what? It takes away from the other important things that you're doing. So he made a decision to not work with a lot of athletes anymore and just to work with people who he sponsors through Evogen. And that was a tough decision because I'm sure his ego was entwined in Phil Heath for all those years, in Jeremy Buendia, and innumerable people he's worked with in the past. So for him to step away, I think that was a good decision on his part because it was like, you know what, look, I don't have to prove to anyone anymore. I already proved it. I don't want the anxiety anymore, and he walked away. But a lot of these young guys, are vying for spots. They want to be the number one guy. There is no number one guy. There's a lot of number one guys out there. You're only number one if you click with the person that you're working with. I have a lot of clients I've worked with for years. I have a lot of new people I work with, and most of the people I work with, I get along great with, and some people I don't. You have to find who clicks with you and who understands your personality and what kind of person you're dealing with. People who are information driven, who want knowledge, seem to flock to me. Those people are really good because they know I can always answer their questions, and I allay their fears by constantly being able to explain why I'm doing the things I'm doing. And that's my, what I offer as a coach, a lot of knowledge, in addition to experience, obviously. So there's so many coaches and there's so many people who need coaches out there. I don't know why all these guys are fighting with each other and trying to put each other down. But if I was a person looking for a coach and I see two guys bickering, I'm going to stay clear. I don't want drama. I'm going to go to the guy who feels very confident in himself and his abilities, and that's who I'm going to work with, because I don't need drama in my life. And I'm sure most bodybuilders during their contest prep don't want drama.
Let's go to Vincent Vega 60. Do you recommend using pharmaceutical HGH for joint repair? If yes, what is the minimum effective dose?
If you're going to take GH for healing injuries and stuff like that, it's not the same dosage as you're taking for building enormous amounts of muscle. 2 IUs a day is probably ideal. I see guys after surgery, they have their rotator cuff repaired or a pec injury repair. And they're like, how much should I take GH? How much? Usually 2 IUs per day. Because remember, you don't want to make yourself too insulin resistant, because you need to absorb your food and your nutrition to also repair the injury. So you take too much GH, you make yourself insulin resistant. Now you got to take insulin with it. So that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for a little bit to just kind of increase the speed with which you heal. 2 IUs of GH taken in the morning is ideal.
Let's go to Giuliano Soroya. Just saw your video on getting huge, which was last week. We talked about everything that you did, the blueprint for your success in terms of getting big and how others can follow. You've previously worked with Juan Morel. Not to specifically call him out, but he is a prime example of training way too much. Why do some pros train twice a day? Are there any benefits to this?
I think Juan trains twice a day because I think he's in the gym all day anyway, training other people, and he figures, I'm here all day anyway. I'll train one body part in the morning and I'll train the other at night. And if he feels he can recover from it, great. I tried it in the past because look, I had the same type of lifestyle where I had the ability to do whatever I wanted during the day. And I felt like it, not only was it physically a little bit of burning out, when I would come back for that second workout, I just didn't feel like training. And I felt like I didn't recover because I was a slow recoverer. But not even that, it mentally burned me out. Being in the gym that many times a week, twice a day, was just too much. I just didn't want to be there anymore. I started hating it. And so I said, you know what? I'll just train one body part per day. I'll spread my workouts out a little bit more, diverse, or I should dispersed, and I'm gonna be in the gym less. And you know what? That made it fresher for me. It made it more enjoyable, and I got better results.
Let's go to Aesthetic with Ends. Dave, in your opinion, what is the importance of machines when trying to grow? One, I'm deciding between 2 gyms in my area. One has nearly every machine possible, but it's a commercial gym. The other is a small, more hardcore gym with only dumbbells, barbells, and a few machines. I feel like I train harder at the small gym, but I'm limited by the equipment. Thoughts on which I should pick?
When I first started, I pretty much did all free weight movements. I almost did no machines. And because I felt that built quality muscle and built complete quality muscle. Because remember, when you use free weights, you have to balance. There's a balance aspect of it. So you're developing the muscle in multiple planes of motion. So I feel where the gym that has the best atmosphere for training, where you have other athletes that are training hardcore and can push you, okay, I think that's the gym you should be at. Now, that doesn't mean that if you have the money, have 2 gym memberships. If you need to go and do some touch-up work at one of the other gyms because you like a certain machine that they have, I would have definitely done that, too, back in the day if I needed it. Like somebody, arms, how much hardcore, you're not doing 600-pound, arm curls. So I might like to use certain machines for arms, that I don't necessarily need to use for legs or back. And I know that legs and back are a much more intense body part. I might want to go to the free weight gym for that, where the guys are going to push me and scream at me and they're going to play crazy music. And then I might want to, go for arm day or shoulder day or something like that. I don't know, I might want to go to a more civilized gym, with some machines that give me some more options. So I used to like to have that diversity. Now, back in the day when I was well known, I didn't pay for any gym membership, so I can go wherever I wanted. I never started paying for a gym membership till just recently, and that's when I moved to Florida, and I probably, if I wanted to finagle, I could, but I just didn't want to be bothered. The gym memberships are so cheap now anyway, but back in the day, I had the ability to go to different gyms. One day I would go to this gym, one day I would go to that gym, and I had different gyms where I liked to train different body parts, and that's just the way I worked. But when I initially started and I really didn't have a lot of money or didn't really know anyone, I would go to one gym, and it was usually a hardcore gym where guys were pushing each other because I knew I needed to be in that environment where I would come out of my comfort zone.
Let's go to I'm Aldonado Bernal. Hello from Chile. Love the show, yada, yada, yada. I want to know your thoughts on carb loading with insulin pre-contest and the use of Diazide the night after the show.
I'm assuming it means the night before the show, but I don't know why you would use Diazide. Unless you're using, is he talking about using Diazide because you're preventing bloating after the show? I guess that may be what he means. What I usually tell guys is after the show is over, eat what you want, maybe the next day, if you start to notice that you're retaining a lot of fluid, you might want to stay on a little Diazide. Usually half a pill a day for a couple days is usually prudent if you tend to retain a lot of fluid. Now, in terms of the first part of the question was insulin loading before a show. I never really insulin load anyone. Very, very, very infrequently do I use insulin. To me, I cut back GH so you're not as insulin resistant. And then when we start carb, and I actually even cut clenbuterol back because that could also, cause a little bit of insulin resistance. And I carb people up that way. And usually I don't give it that many grams of carbs where you have to worry about enough of it getting in. So, if you're eating 1,000 grams of carbs a day, I guess maybe some insulin might be warranted. But if you're only carbing someone up on 300, 350 grams of carbs a day, your natural insulin production is more than adequate for that.
Iron Built Muscle. He wants to know about incorporating different exercises from Olympic lifting or strongman and implementing them into your bodybuilding program. For example, I like to do barbell cleans and barbell snatches and feel that these exercises really blow up your upper back and traps than the old standard shrugs. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it, as long as it's not causing you to get, joint injuries, because a lot of those Olympic liftings are very explosive type movements, and they can cause joint, you could get injured doing it. So if you're staying safe and you're not trying to go too crazy heavy, and you're not getting injured or you're not feeling like overuse injuries, then I have no problem with using them once in a while. If you are getting injuries and you are not feeling so great afterwards doing it and you're having trouble recovering, then to me it's an impediment. So it all depends on how you're executing these movements. But I don't have a problem with them.
Jordan Pro Subs, will there ever be another Bros versus Pros?
Never say never. Like I said, I loved doing it, and we always did one every year at Wayne McDaniel's place in Diamond Gym there in New Jersey. That was a mainstay. And unfortunately, he actually asked me to do it this year. Unfortunately, I'll be getting my shoulder done. So maybe next year we might come back there. He also only gave me like a month notice. I said, Dwayne, you got to give me more notice than that now that I don't live in New York. I can't drive there. We have to fly in and we have to record it and everything like that. So never say never. That was my brainchild. I love it. I think it's tremendous. It really gives a lot of community building. It really makes bodybuilders kind of get in touch with what bodybuilding is all about, working out. And to me, it's super fun because you can give the average gym guy, you can make him into a Mr. Olympia for the day, especially if he beats the pro. So never say never. Like I said, I'm sure we'll have another one down the road.
Last question from King Whiny69. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Dave, is there such thing as too much sleep? I average 8 hours or more a night, but still feel exhausted throughout the day.
Sometimes when you sleep a lot, you feel more tired. Like I used to sleep 9 hours and I'd wake up and I'm like, I don't even want to get out of bed. But I don't think so. I think that the more you sleep, the better you recover. You might just be a little groggy. It takes a while to kind of wake up. Sometimes, I used to need a cup of coffee to actually wake me up back in the day, When you're really heavy, your body wants to sleep more, and because you're growing. Also, when you're heavy, it's exhausting to walk around. I was just talking about this with what's his name that we did
John Ray?
What? No, I just did an interview with remember his
Craig
name?
Goliath?
Oh yeah, Goliath. Yeah, Goliath was saying when he was 350, he wanted to stay in bed all day long. He didn't want to get up, and I can relate to that because when I was over 300 pounds, I felt the same way. But sleep is imperative. Matter of fact, I felt like I was getting sick after coming back from Dubai. I only had a couple hours of sleep, and I slept 4 hours because I had to go and do some stuff. And you know what? I just crashed, and man, I woke up the next day and I felt like $1 million. So it is what it is. You need sleep to grow. There's no such thing as too much sleep when you're bodybuilding.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, brought to you by Species Nutrition and Liquid Sunrays. Again, keep it locked to RxMuscle.com. So much content coming through the pipe. We have our interviews from the Dubai Muscle Show. Of course, any updates, any visitors, any cool things that we could do while Dave is recovering at the hospital, of course, we will include that too on RxMuscle.com and the RxMuscle YouTube channel. For Dave Palumbo and Tyler Shore, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.